Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of the 22nd of May 2024. I declare this meeting open at 10 a.m. I would like to advise attendees that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. I would like to introduce a little bit of a different process for a welcome and acknowledgement to country that we're trialling. I'd like to ask if Jade from Marsden State School, she's the Indigenous captain from Marsden State School and a traditional owner in the city of Logan, can come down and do a welcome to country. I'm going to go stand beside her at the lectern because I know she's super confident, but I just want to be in the same photo as her.
My name is Jade Green. I'm a proud traditional custodian of my land. I would like to welcome you on behalf of our First Nations people, the Yagara and the Gudjigan people of the Yugambeh speaking region. I would like to pay my respects to our elders, past and present, and I would also like to extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. I would also like to pay my respects to all of the other cultures here today who have helped to influence and shape our nation. I acknowledge the truth that all of Australia contains hundreds of nations spanning greater than 65,000 years, and we live and work on land unceded by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, as they hold the memories, the traditions, the cultures, and the hopes of all Aboriginal people in their hands and in their hearts. It is most important that we remember that under all of the buildings, roads, and concretes, that this land is, was, and always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you.
Great work. Thank you, Jade. Thank you very much to Jade and to the fellow school captains from Marsden State School. This is a tradition that we're just starting, but I'd like to continue with school captains from primary schools and high schools all over the city coming to do their acknowledgement or welcomes to country. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, just as Jade has, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I would now like to introduce Imam Muhammad Azari from Logan Reserve Australian International Islamic College to open the meeting with the reflection of faith. Gallery, can you please be upstanding while Muhammad comes to the lectern?
Thank you, everyone, and I'd like to acknowledge Jade and her amazing welcome to country. Good morning, Mayor, esteemed councillors and distinguished guests. My name is Muhammad Azhari from the Australian International Islamic College, where Jacob Harameh is our local councillor. As we gather here today, let us first pause to reflect on the privilege of service to others in our community, the honour of leadership, the sacred duty we share in fostering a community that reflects our highest values and aspirations. Despite the past years of floods, bushfires, and devastation, we are blessed to be a resilient community, and now with the opportunity to shape the future of Logan City, a place rich in diversity and potential. We seek guidance in our deliberation today. May we be granted the clarity of mind and purity of heart needed to serve our community with excellence. Help us to listen with understanding, speak with kindness, and act with courage. May our work be filled with a spirit of collaboration and mutual respect. As we strive to create a thriving, inclusive, and peaceful community, grant us strength to overcome challenges, the wisdom to learn from one another, and the compassion to look after the least among us. Finally, in our tradition, there is a saying, "The best among you are those who serve the community." Congratulations for all of the local councillors that have been elected. We hope our collective aspiration for a Logan City that stands as a beacon of hope and a testament to what is possible when we come together for the common good. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you very much, Imam. You're welcome to stay with us for the meeting if you're able, but we understand if you're not. Please be seated. We'll now move on to attendances and leaves of absence. I note that Councillor Russell and Councillor Wilcox have requested a leave of absence for today's meeting. Is there a mover for the motion on the screen? Thank you, Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor Murphy. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. The motion has been carried. I now refer to condolences. I understand that Councillor Lane has 4 condolences she wishes to offer, and I will offer one as well. Thank you, Councillor Lane. You may begin.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. My first condolence is to a gentleman by the name of Robert Macville. Robert was my next door neighbour, and my first introduction to him was he was wearing his underpants and mowing his lawn, and he was 87 years of age. Robert was one of those unique individuals that you would walk into your home and he was sitting in your lounge room just because he wanted to say, hey, how's life going? He always had a piece of advice for me for council and offered ideas in the community, and he will be sorely missed. His wife Elsie, he's left behind Elsie, and she's looking at now moving into a care facility, which is a real shame because she's such an independent person. The next person is Keith Caffrey, Mr. Mayor. Keith is well known around the Logan Central area and before that the Woodridge area. Keith and Robin were part of St Paul's Church, and Keith was a wonderful active person in our local neighbourhood watch and in the church and in community activities. Keith's health declined over the years, and he ended up in our care at Slacks Creek, where he passed away last week. So we'd like to send condolences to Robbie, his wife, who we absolutely adored. The next one is Dennis Stanley Franklin. Now, Dennis and his wife Sandra moved into Woodridge in 1982. And they're those sort of people that didn't have a lot, but gave whatever they had to everybody. They're active in the local community, active with local charities, and just all-round fantastic people. So when Dennis got sick, his family rallied around him, and they really made the last of their moments. And Dennis leaves behind his grandchildren, Sam, Ollie and baby Matilda, and he absolutely adored the living daylights out of them. And to the end, they were with him, which is a beautiful part about our palliative care in at the hospital. And the last one, Mr. Mayor, is Ruth Kimber. I first met Ruth in 1998. She came in, she's about this big and about that round, and she came into the office and asked for photocopying for the local garden club. She was a member of the Garden Club for 40 years. She was the president. She was the president of Bromeliad Society in Queensland. She gave so much of her time and effort to beautifying our city, one little garden at a time. And she was an absolutely fabulous person. Ruth leaves behind a lot of family because she's just a happy, joyous person when she was with us, and we'll miss her dearly. So if you could pass along those condolences, Mr. Mayor, that would be lovely.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. I make sure that those condolences are passed on to their families. I would also like to offer condolences for the passing of Des Clamp. Des Clamp was a local legend who passed away on the 26th of March 2024. He lived for 91 years, 11 months and 6 days. He's survived by his wife Nolene, daughter Gail, his grandkids and great-grandkids, but also by the thousands of people whose lives he made better through his volunteering, his faith and his belief in the inherent goodness of all people. Des and his wife Nolene were an amazing 1-2 punch. They enjoyed 71 years of marriage and service to their community. They were 2 of the first volunteers who started Blue Care in West End with Reverend Arthur Preston, and when they came to Woodridge, they worked together to break down barriers and make people feel welcome, something that we continue to take pride in the City of Logan today. As a couple, they have contributed more to the community spirit of this city, especially the old parts of Logan, than any other people that I know. Des was a joker, a believer, a helper and a champion of people, all people. And he wasn't backwards about coming forward. He was never shy about talking about the hard topics, religion, politics and pay. And Nolene was always coming in hot on his tail to talk about those exact same taboo topics. In fact, the first time I met Des, he was giving me a hard time about why I hadn't joined the Labor Party yet. He loved Logan and he loved people and he made sure they knew it. He was generous and he believed in all people and the goodness that they could spread if they were encouraged to be their best. His belief in God and his enduring focus on hope, love and forgiveness were things that he will be remembered by. He was a man of goodwill and he taught that goodwill to others and was a sweet example for newly arrived refugees about what Australians were really like. The world was better for having Des in it. Go well, old mate. We'll see you soon. We'll now observe a moment of reflection in honour of those who have gone before us and in support of those they left behind. Please stand if you're able and join me in a minute of silence. Thank you. Please be seated. We'll now move on to congratulations, and I'll open the floor for congratulation requests. I'll begin with Division 1. Do any councillors have any congratulation requests to raise? Division 2?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Anzac Day is a special time of the year for so many in the community, and in Division 2 we do it particularly well. There were so many people that contributed to this year's Anzac Day, and I just want to acknowledge a few of them today, if that's okay. Mick Noble for his wonderful display. All of our local schools that contributed and marched on the day with their handmade little wreaths. The clubs, the Pathfinders, the Scouts, the Adventurers, the Vietnam Veterans and Veterans Motorcycle Club, Paul Jackson, who stepped into the role of pastor for the day. Thanks very much, Paul. And in particular, the council staff. So the team led by Ellie Griffiths were Hayley Ryan, Jodie Singleton, Shania Heffernan, Stephen Atkinson, Trevor Wilson and Alan Wilson. They made the day go smoothly. They're absolutely wonderful, kind, considerate, and made sure that veterans and their families felt very welcomed on the day. And I just want to say a big thank you to the org for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor St Ledger, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Hall, Fraser, Heremiah, Bannon, Stemp and Murphy. There you go.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like congratulations passed on to the Rotary Club of Beenleigh for the Beenleigh Cane Parade and Gala Ball. I wish to congratulate the whole team of the Rotary Club of Beenleigh on their very successful Cane Parade and Gala Ball. We saw our Division 12 community come out and enjoy the parade and wander through the heart of Beenleigh CBD. 45 entrants, led by the Beenleigh Brass Band, took us back to the Beenleigh Showgrounds for a family-free fun day and festival and a laser show. A week later, the Gala Ball was held at Kiwanda Cafe at the Distillery Markets. The night was a successful celebration of our history and our people, and I'd also raised valuable funds for our charity partner, Scripture Union Local Chaplaincies. Mr Mayor, could you please pass on congratulations to the Rotary Club of Beenleigh?
I'd be glad to, and it was great to see Councillor Hall and Councillor Bradley at the Gala Ball as well, though I just missed her. I came in after she'd already departed. I'd also like to offer congratulations for Andre Rivet, who's in the room with us today. Some very special congratulations. Andre has competed for Australia at the 2024 Trisomy Games in Turkey for athletics. The Trisomy Games is the pinnacle for Down syndrome para-athletes. I was just talking to his dad, Steve, and it turns out that Down syndrome athletes don't get to compete in the Paralympics, so we're going to have to work on that one together, Steve. Andre was the only athlete to attend for Australia. There were 36 countries and over 1,000 athletes, and Andre competed in discus, shot put and javelin. He won silver in the discus and bronze in the shot put. This means he keeps his number 2 world ranking for discus and moves from 4th up to 3rd in the world for shot put, and in javelin he came 12th. Congratulations, Andre, great work, and we've got a certificate here for you. Now I'm just going to get Andre to come have a photo with me over in front of the crest. Come this way, Andre. Come around the other way, mate. Good man. And then we'll get on with proceedings. Get back to where my notes were. Thank you very much, Andre, and congratulations to his carer, Darren, for being here today, and to his family for supporting him on this awesome journey as he travels around the world to represent Australia in his chosen fields of throwing sports. We'll now move on to the confirmation of minutes for the previous ordinary council meeting. I now refer to the minutes of the previous ordinary council meeting, and I move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 13th of March 2024 be confirmed. Is there a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? There being none, I open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. The motion has been carried. The confirmation of minutes for the previous post-election meeting. I now refer to the minutes of the previous post-election meeting and move that those minutes from the meeting held on the 10th of April be confirmed. Is there a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor Bradley. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. The motion has been carried. Now we have the confirmation of minutes from the previous special council meeting, which was held on the 29th of April 2024, and I move that those minutes be confirmed. Is there a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor Hall. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. We'll now move on to declarations of conflicts of interest. Do any councillors wish to declare any new conflicts of interest for the meeting agenda today, including any conflicts of interest which has subsequently arisen from the agenda items at committee? No. I note that I have a prescribed conflict of interest in respect to item 6.1 of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 14th of May 2024. The particulars of my conflict of interest are now displayed on the screen. I'll just go through them for the benefit of the recording. The matter relates to item 6.1, which is the proposed acquisition and disposal of land in Kingston and Berrimbar. The nature of my conflict is that I received 2 donations from Jamal El Khaled, totalling $7,200 during the election campaign. Jamal is a trustee of the land adjacent to the relevant land that is subject of this matter and has an indirect interest in this matter. As such, I have a prescribed conflict of interest and I will remove myself from the meeting and will not participate in any decision relating to this matter when that comes before this ordinary council meeting. I will now refer to
Point of order, Mr Mayor. May
Yes.
I ask some clarification questions?
You may.
I'm not sure if it's appropriate now or when the item comes up.
Is it in relation to the conflict?
Yes.
May as well do it now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Obviously, you were in the committee meeting on that day, the City Infrastructure Committee meeting. I'm just curious, how come? What was the purpose of not telling us about the conflict of interest or the potential conflict of interest at that point in time?
Councillor Bradley, I wasn't aware of how close the two properties were. When I reviewed the agenda the night before, I had a look very briefly and didn't see how close the two properties were relevant. As soon as I realised in the meeting that I could have a conflict of interest, because it's indirect, because it doesn't directly benefit the property next door. So when I realised that it could be an indirect conflict, I left the room immediately, sought advice through the corporate governance manager who asked the city solicitor to come down. She said she couldn't give me the advice on the spot. She needed to do a bit of work on it. So she advised me to stay away from the meeting so I couldn't be accused of having any influence over the matter. I think I left with like a minute into the discussion. As soon as the adjacent property was mentioned, I stood up and walked out.
So there was an opportunity to say something at that point in time.
I wasn't aware if I had the conflict or not, because it was an indirect conflict. It didn't relate to the matter in the report. That's why I sought advice.
Okay. I still have the line on, don't I? Thank you. And I'm just curious, have you been in meetings in relation to this matter prior to the committee report?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Any further questions? Nope. Excellent. We will... So just to recap, due to my conflict of interest, I will be leaving the meeting while recommendations for item 6.1 of the City Infrastructure Committee are discussed and voted on. I will now move on to item 11, which is business arising from the minutes. We have no business arising from the minutes to consider, and we will get into committee minutes and recommendations, starting with the Special Budget Committee. I now refer to the Special Budget Committee meetings. Councillor Murphy, Chairperson of the Special Budget Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Now we'll speak to the recommendations of the 5 Special Budget Committee meetings held through April and May. The organisation, along with councillors' cohort, have commenced and considered reports addressing the 24-25 budget. We've had 5 full days of reports, with a further day to go and the budget delivery on the 24th of June. Logan City Council is just like any other business in Logan. We have certainly got our challenges ahead of us, and we as a council want to make sure that we are delivering the best value for our people as well. So I hand it back to you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murphy. Do any further councillors wish to speak to the Special Budget Committee? There being none, I'll hand back over to you, Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I now move the motions as displayed on the screen. The recommendations of the Special Budget Committee held on the 12th of April 2024 be adopted. Number 2, the recommendations of the Special Budget Committee held on the 18th of April be adopted, and that the recommendations of the Special Budget Committee held on the 23rd of April be adopted. The recommendation of the Special Budget Committee held on the 2nd of May be adopted, and the recommendations of the Special Budget Committee held on the 9th of May be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy has moved the motions. Are there a seconder to this motion? Thank you, Councillor Fraser. Does anyone wish to speak to the motions? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Those motions have been carried unanimously. Are there any councillors who would like their names recorded against or abstain from any particular items on the committee recommendations? No? Excellent. We'll now move on to the City Infrastructure Committee. I now refer to the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 14th of May. Councillor Bannon, Chairperson of the City Infrastructure Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you have a declared conflict of interest in respect to item 6.1, we will now be required to separate the bulk adoption of the recommendations. Therefore, I propose that we deal with item 6.2 first in the agenda. I will now speak to the recommendations of item 6.2. I won't go too much into recommendations, they're confidential, but I will take the moment to thank Director Silvio Trinca for welcoming. We always had a good relationship beforehand, so the transition from Deputy Chair to Chair has been obviously seamless, so I thank you for that, mate. And I just want to have a shout out to Councillor Theresa Lane, the outgoing Chair of Infrastructure. Great friend, not just a champion of a human being, but you're a champion councillor, so thank you for helping me with everything in the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Bannon. Do any councillors wish to speak to item 6.2? There being no further councillors, Councillor Bannon, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I now move that the recommendations for item 6.2 of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 14th of May 2024 be adopted.
Councillor Bannon has moved the motion. Is there a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor St Ledger. All those in favour, please raise your hand. The motion has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. Councillors, I now refer to item 6.1 of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 14th of May. As I have declared a prescribed conflict of interest in respect to this item, I will now leave the meeting and Deputy Mayor Councillor Bannon will chair the meeting.
Thank you, councillors. As chairperson of the City Infrastructure Committee, we'll now begin with the recommendations for item 6.1. Do any councillors wish to speak to the recommendations? Councillor Bradley, reminding that this wasn't confidential.
Yes, thank you. I was going to say I will not speak to the confidential component, but I did foreshadow that I would like to move the alternate recommendation that is in the confidential report that was put forward by council officers.
Thank you,
I
Councillor
emailed
Bradley.
everyone last night about that.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley, but we'll be testing the motion that was adopted through committee. Being no further speakers, I now move that the recommendations for item 6.1 of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 14th of May 2024 be adopted.
Point of order, can I just ask for clarification on something? So if we move this, the alternate recommendation will not get up, is that correct?
That's correct. Did you want to speak to that? No. So I've moved them. Yeah, I've moved the motion. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Theresa Lane. Councillor Theresa Lane has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. There's two away. Yep. Could we go around the room just to state how you voted?
Against?
4.
4.
4.
Abstain.
4. Abstain.
Against.
And abstain.
And I'm for. Just bear with us for a second, please. It's a 5, so it's 5-5. And I'm the casting vote as the chair. Yeah. So the votes come through at 5-5. As the chair of City Infrastructure, I have a casting vote, which is obviously a yes. So the motion has been carried. You good? I will now invite Mayor Raven back into the room to chair the rest of the meeting. Is someone getting? Someone getting it? Yeah.
Thank you very much, councillors. We'll now move on to the City Governance Committee. I refer to the City Governance Committee held on the 14th of May 2024. Councillor Murphy, Chairperson of City Governance, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will now speak to the recommendations. This is the first meeting of the new term and a lot to address, with 10 reports being considered and 4 confidential reports. Monthly financial reports for February and March 2024 were presented. This gave the councillors a full understanding of council's position going into the budget. As at the 31st of March, council's financial results showed an operating surplus. With challenges ahead with pricing increases and constraints on the labour market, we have also seen high levels of work from the weather events that we've seen early in the year and the pressures from the departments. Other reports addressed amendment to the calendar of meetings, Auditor General's observations and reports, the Q3 operational plans, and another busy month for governance. I hand it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Do any other councillors wish to speak to the report? There being none, I now hand it back to Councillor Murphy. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I forgot to turn my microphone off then. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendations for the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 14th of May be adopted.
Councillor Murphy has moved the motion. Would someone like to second the motion? Thank you, Councillor St Ledger. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? There being none, all those in favour raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Would any councillor, would you like to record your name? Would any councillors like to record their name or abstain on any particular items within the committee recommendations, Councillor Bradley?
Thank you, sorry. I wasn't aware if you were going to do that or not. 6.10 against, please.
So that was against 6.10. Thank you very much. That will be noted. Councillors, will now move to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee. I now refer to the committee meeting held on the 15th of May. Councillor Stemp, Chairperson of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will now speak to the recommendations. Mr. Mayor, it was great to chair my first official meeting as chair, which with the support of council officers and councillors we got through in just under 25 minutes, which was a pretty impressive time. Mr. Mayor, we had 3 reports this round, and I'd like to talk briefly to item 6.2, the Maple Park Waterway Naturalisation Project. While this report had a confidential attachment, the public report sought council endorsement to commence negotiations to acquire part of a property and an easement on another property, which are considered integral to the delivery of the Slacks Creek recovery strategy. If acquired, this will help ensure long-term connectivity of the waterway and provide enough land for an active transport trail to be established in a future stage of the project, which would be great news for the community. Mr. Mayor, I have nothing further at this time.
Thank you, Councillor Stemp. Do any further councillors wish to speak to the motion? There being none, Councillor Stemp, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I now move that the recommendations of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 15th of May 2024 be adopted.
Councillor Stemp has moved the motion. Is there a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor Bannon. All those in favour, please raise your hands. The motion has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. Would any councillors like to record their names against or abstain against any particular items in the committee recommendations? Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Abstain from 6.2.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. That's abstained from 6.2 and it will be noted. We now move to the City Lifestyle Committee and I refer to the committee meeting held on the 15th of May 2024. Councillor Hall, Chairperson for the City Lifestyle Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll now speak to the recommendation. At the City Lifestyle Committee last week, councillors received a consolidated update on council's sporting, community, infrastructure-related projects. The update focused on three main areas of project delivery: community infrastructure strategy, sports facility programming, and major sporting and community infrastructure projects. An update on the replacement plans for the Logan Metro Football Clubhouse at Compton Park in Woodridge was provided. Council is pleased to support the advocacy of this project to the state government and looks forward to being able to share further updates with the community in due course. Council has also considered two reports with confidential elements relating to the Wilbur Street Youth Centre and Hemel Park. And in general business, it was wonderful to hear from councillors recognising the great work being done by council officers out in the community, with acknowledgements being made to the events team for their work on Anzac Day and the community development team. We also heard from the City Safety and Livability Branch, who shared information regarding the successful prosecution of a dog owner whose pet had violently attacked an elderly gentleman. This result came from the efforts of our hard-working animal management staff and their tenacity in pursuing this matter through the courts. This is an example that council will take the appropriate action if things are correctly reported. And it's also a reminder for all us dog owners, including myself, that we keep our pets properly trained and restrained. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. I trust that rhyming was deliberate. Do any further councillors wish to speak to this item? There being none, Councillor Hall, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the recommendation of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 15th of May 2024 be adopted.
Councillor Hall has moved the motion. Do any councillors wish to second the motion? Thank you, Councillor Bradley. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillors, would any councillors like to record their names against or abstain from any particular items on that committee report? No. We'll now move on to council reports, and we have none. We also have no late reports to consider. We now have petitions. I note that there is one petition today to be presented. Councillor Heremiah, you may proceed with your petition.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise today to speak on an important topic in Division 8, the state of our local roads. Now, when there's an area that has a population increase, there should be a corresponding increase in infrastructure. In Logan Reserve and Parkridge, we haven't seen that to the degree that's appropriate. We have rural roads supporting an urban population, and the community says that's just not good enough, and personally I agree with them. They've sprung into action and they're advocating for change through community meetings and through petitions. I'd like to thank the organiser of this petition, Brooke Miller, for her fantastic work in gathering the community together, getting over 100 signatures to say that Chambers Flat Road and the Parkridge Road intersection should be upgraded. When we look at the statistics, she has a point. Over the past 5 years, from 2016 to 2021, the population of Logan Reserve and Parkridge has increased by over 9,000 residents. Those new cars are on the roads, and as such, the roads should be upgraded. Now, we've had some good wins as well. The Clark Road intersection will be upgraded with traffic lights. Construction is scheduled to begin this year, but we're not stopping there. We should fight for even more road upgrades in Division 8, and Mr Mayor, I'm proud to move this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heremiah. Councillor Heremiah has moved the motion. Before I look for a seconder, would anyone else like to speak to the motion? There being none, looks like Councillor Hall wants to second that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you, councillors. That motion has been carried unanimously. Councillors, we now move on to consideration of notified motions, and we have none to consider. And finally, we go to general business. But today we'll begin discussions with Division 2. Councillor Lane, do you have any general business?
I've always got general business, Mr Mayor. So Women's Power of Inspiration Inc. Held their Welcome to Logan Central event on Saturday night. They're a group of African refugees, and we know that when refugees come, husbands go off to work and the kids go off to school, and often the wives are left behind. And when they're left behind, their literacy actually falls behind as well. So Esperance and her crew had this crazy idea to get women together and, under the guise of sewing and weaving, actually create a space where English could be taught by wonderful Australian women who volunteer there. And some of the words are a little bit naughty sometimes, and other times they're quite good. But what it's doing is it's helping marginalised people in the community. And I'm so very proud that Division 2 infrastructure is being used for that purpose. I think that's a great use of a community facility. The second one is Mamana Tongambul. I was pleased to attend an event in Councillor Russell's division with Councillor Tony Hall. Now, Her Royal Highness Princess Angelica Tuolahu was at the event, and it was a wonderful display of Tongan culture and Tongan ideals. It was just, you felt the warmth the moment you walked in. And it was a great event organised by Celia and her organising committee. I'd like to say Afo Atu to them, which is I love you, and I think that it was a great event, and I hope that many more to come in the Logan City in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor St Ledger, Councillor Jackson, Hall, Councillor Fraser, Jeremiah, Bannon, Stamp. Oh, Bannon's got general business. Hold.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. GB is for you. I think the change you made with that incredible welcome to country, which was awesome, and the faith you're doing, I think those changes you made are terrific, and I actually look forward to now to seeing who's going to come up and talk. Hard one to beat that welcome to country, so good luck to the next person. But yeah, I think the changes you made are really, really good.
Thank you, Councillor Bannon. Appreciate it. Councillor Stemp, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Bradley. All good. Thank you very much, councillors, and thank you to the students from Marsden State School. Your local councillor, Councillor Jackson, he's going to take you for a tour of the building. He's brand new, so he just did his tour yesterday, so he'll talk you around everything he learned yesterday, and so you guys can see all the cool stuff that happens in council. It's really exciting to bring the community into the chamber and share it with them, because after all, we all work for them, and I know that we all keep them in mind when we're making our decisions. That concludes our agenda for today's meeting. I now declare the end of the ordinary council closed at 10:38 a.m. Thank you, councillors, and have a great week.